No, it says we're live. Hopefully somebody can hear us.
Can anyone hear us?
I don't know. Give us a little chat and let us know you can hear. Otherwise, we'll just feel like we're talking to ourselves.
We might be. We got 2 thumbs up, though, so somebody's there. I don't know.
There's only one person watching right now.
But then I always wonder if the audio is working.
I know.
It
It doesn't really tell you on here whether you've got any audio. You can bring it up on your phone and check.
I'll do that. YouTube.
Hey, Grady.
It's working. I don't have to bring it up good because I wasn't really sure how. Grady is evidently smarter than me. I didn't know how to bring us up.
Well, I guess it's afternoon now. We decided to try this YouTube live thing again. It took me, we were supposed to be watching church this morning.
One of us still did.
I was trying to figure out how to make this thing work from the last time we did it because I kind of disassembled everything and I really couldn't remember how to make it work. So
Grady's a ham.
Yeah, he is a ham. 5x5.
I recognize that.
So finally got it figured out, and hopefully everybody can hear us okay. We're going to go through a few things. We're kind of on self-lockdown around here, though we're going to take a little drive out this afternoon and see what we can see. See if there's any activity around town and just get out of the house for a little bit. But one thing we wanted to talk about was a little bit we're going to be giving one of these away. We already went through the randomizer and had it pick somebody out of the comments from that video. So,
look, Arthur's here.
Yeah, Arthur from Wasilla, Alaska. Hi, Arthur. But we'll be giving that thing away and go down a list of things that we kind of jotted down. And we'd like to hear from some of you in the comments. What's going on in your hometowns? And
Grady says it's slow in North Carolina.
Yeah, it's
not much traffic, I guess.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy around here. It's up until the governor shut it down. When we went to town, it looked like any normal day. It didn't look any different than normal.
Tons of kids at the park still.
Yeah, people just doing their thing, and our county still doesn't have any cases. Hopefully, it stays that way.
Fingers crossed. We've got them all around us, though.
Yeah,
Union County.
Yeah, most of the counties around us have at least one case, but here in rural Oregon, we kind of self-separate anyway, and I think that's pretty true for most rural areas. Besides maybe parks and things, we don't usually congregate too much.
Restaurants.
Restaurants is probably the biggest congregation area. So we really haven't noticed a huge difference for us personally. Besides, when you go to town, there's not many people on the streets right now.
You kind of give the kids a lecture before you go in the store. Yeah, don't touch anything.
Don't touch anything. Keep to yourselves.
They've gotten really good at that.
Yeah, they have.
I'm going to keep that going.
But I think we can all agree, whether you think this is all a bunch of baloney or not, it's history in the making. It's definitely going to change things in the country. Probably not for the better in the short term, at least. I think, like I mentioned in the last 2 videos, what the effect it's going to have on our economy and jobs is just mind-boggling to me. Mm-hmm. We talk about it all the time and trying to figure out where this is all going to wind up. Hopefully we don't wind up in a big hole somewhere. So, but while we've been kind of on self-lockdown, we've been getting a bunch of stuff done. Yesterday we were out.
Trimmed all the trees.
Trimmed a bunch of trees and hauled all of the stuff out to the burn pile that's been sitting around waiting to get burned. Still haven't burned it, but it's sitting out there.
Blaine really wants you to burn.
Yeah.
I was excited to drive the tractor.
And we did a little burn. Was it last Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, It was supposed to be about 1/4 to 1/2 acre. And as soon as we started it, the wind came up and started pushing it the wrong way. So we decided, well, we'll just go down here where we made a track for the boy and his motorcycle. It's like 4 feet wide. And start a backfire there. I said, it can burn down to here. It's not a big deal. Well, as soon as we started the backfire, a gust come along and blew it right across that line, and it was off to the races. Boy, it was crazy. Fortunately, my older son and daughter were home, and that's what she does for a living. She's a wildland firefighter, so it was good to have her out there.
It was like Christmas for her.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
She thought it was great out there fighting fire, but wound up burning about 5 acres, which wasn't really intended. It needed burn anyway, but it wasn't intended that day. It was kind of fun running down to get the tractor and trying not to look like it was a panic rush to get the tractor, so nobody. We've got one neighbor, so they weren't looking out the window saying, man, it looks like they're out of control, and call the fire department and get them out here. That's probably the last thing we want. So anyway, so one thing that I've had a lot of questions about is the two radios, the 7610 and the 890.
You get a lot of questions on that, actually.
Yeah, and I've been so busy with work and everything else, I just haven't had a chance to get back to it. Though yesterday, I may get on WPX a little bit today, a little bit more. But yesterday I fired up the 7610 to get on WPX, and it wouldn't transmit. I finally had to reset the radio to make it transmit. It would transmit in Morse code or in CW. Yep, that one. But on single sideband, it wouldn't transmit. It wouldn't transmit from memory. Nothing. The light would come on, but nothing would come out of the radio. So had to reset the radio. Then it started working fine again. I'm not really sure what the deal was with that thing. So I'll try and finish up another video about those two radios.
They're both sitting here still.
Yeah, they're both still on the desk. They're going to stay both on the desk for a while. There's things I like about both of these radios.
From Kansas.
Hey.
Designed our logo, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, both of them are going to stay on the desk for a while. There's things I like about both these radios. At first, I was only going to keep one, mainly because there's fairly expensive radios, and I don't really need that expensive radios sitting here just collecting dust while the other one's being used. But I'm having fun with both of them right now, so they're both going to stay for a while. But today, if I had to pick one, it would be the 7610, just because it's a little easier to use. But there are things I like better on the Kenwood, that's for sure.
Why is the Kenwood so much bigger?
Well, because Kenwood likes to do things big.
Okay.
So that's a big radio.
The screen's not that much bigger, though.
No, the screens are about the same size.
It's just a much bigger radio.
Yep. So I'll finish that video up one of these days and kind of come to a conclusion on that. Answer everybody's comments of the testing they wanted me to do between the two. Like I said, been super busy, so just haven't had a chance to do it.
I like the feedback on what they want you to test.
Yeah.
Because not being as techie.
Right.
I don't know.
Tim B.
From
in the central UK in lockdown. That's one of the questions we had is, how's things in your location? Are you in lockdown? Are the towns handling it? States? How are they handling it? Are they getting really...
I want to know if people are still like in good spirits or if they're starting to get really grumpy with each other type of thing.
Yeah, here, the folks, about all we have to judge by is what we see on Facebook, because we're kind of isolated out here. The comments are kind of all over the place with, on the community forums. Some people are like, it's the apocalypse, and other people are like, it's just no big deal. The government's out to get us.
Have you noticed less traffic on our road, though?
Yeah, we've noticed less traffic out on our road.
More side-by-sides.
Less vehicle traffic, more side-by-sides coming by. And we see side-by-sides come by once in a while, but it's usually one of the ranchers around us. And these are unknown side-by-sides. So evidently people are out and about to some degree.
Which is kind of unusual to be on our road and not a rancher that's local. We have Italy. Yeah, Toyota trucks.
Toyota trucks are for girls. Howdy. So, and the other thing we were kind of wondering, if you throw it in the comments, how are the stores in your area? Are you seeing like low stock? I mean, everybody, it seems like, is out of toilet paper, but I heard...
Now, rumor mill on Facebook is that one of our stores got toilet papered this morning.
Oh man.
It was a thing. I'm in this like mom group on Facebook, and they were all excited that one of the stores got toilet paper this morning.
Well, that is big news.
So.
Toilet paper in stock. I heard from one of my counterparts. I think he lives in Montana. He said that the locals heard that they were going to shut down, more or less, go into a shelter in place, and they went into the store the night before, and he said pretty much all the shelves were cleaned out. I'm not sure what town he's in.
Is it a big one?
It's not a real big town. Okay. That at least I don't think so. And he said that there was pretty much nothing on the shelves there, which kind of surprised.
Homestead says the canned goods. What about the toilet paper, paper towels? I noticed cleaning supplies.
The cleaning supplies,
just
flour, rice, non-existent.
Flour. Yes,
they're just non-existent locally, and it doesn't seem to be coming back in stock either. It's just,
I think it just goes so quick.
Yeah, either that or we've only been going to town every about 4 days.
My first thought though was most people buying flour probably don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, they're
stockpiling it before.
Which that's another thing we've in the past bought some whole kernel wheat, and we've been trying to figure out how to make bread with that stuff. And we've got this stupid hand grinder that we thought a hand grinder would be the way to go. It takes you a long time to come up with 2 cups of flour out of that thing. So we're looking for a different grinder for wheat, and we're trying to figure out how to make bread with that thing.
Does anybody else have a grinder? A good one?
Yeah, if you got a suggestion, let us know, because the one we have is not good.
I don't have the attention span to grind 4 cups of flour that way. So Tim B says that second week of strong restrictions. So are you guys allowed to even go to the store or anything? Or are you just completely, do you know?
I have no, he's in the UK, so I'm not sure. Here in Oregon, people off and on are freaking out because they see military or trains coming through with a bunch of APCs and stuff on it. And you see them all the time coming through this area because Oregon doesn't have a major military base, but Washington does. And the train line comes right through here. And so when they transport a lot of their vehicles, they come right through here on a train. And for some reason, everybody thinks it's the apocalypse because there's military rigs coming through on the train. And if they just pay attention, they're always coming through on the train. But right now it's getting a lot of attention. But I will say that for the first time, we're evidently right under, and I mean right under, a military flight path here, because Apaches will come flying over at, maybe 500 feet AGL.
And they always have. This isn't something new.
Yeah, they've always come flying through here at really low altitudes. And at night, it's kind of funny. You'll go out at night, you'll hear them coming, and they're completely blacked out. There's not a light on. And as soon as you walk outside, their lights come on.
It's so cool.
So they're evidently watching with either FLIR or thermal or something.
The one a couple years ago, how many were in that? And the last one's lit up.
Yeah, I think there was 8 Apaches in that line coming through, and
they were like in groups of 2.
Yeah, they're groups staggered in 2, and they come through. And the last when we walked outside, they lit up for just a little bit and then shut down. Only the last 2 stayed lit, and as soon as they passed us, they turned their lights back off again. So that was kind of interesting. But yesterday, it was yesterday, wasn't it? I don't know. We're losing track of time.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday. No, day before yesterday.
Okay, day before yesterday. We had 4 C-17s fly over, and they might have been 800 feet AGL. Lowest,
English.
Above ground level.
Thank you.
It's the lowest I've ever seen. I mean, we've seen C-17s fly, 10,000 feet up, but these guys you could look in the windows almost when they come by. 4 of them. I hadn't seen that before, so that was something new.
I'm in the kitchen cooking, and all of a sudden I hear the front door slam open and Blaine running through the house. And then Jack comes in the back door trying to get Blaine, who's already out in the front yard watching. Yeah. He was so excited.
But, it's just, we're under a military flight path here, so it's
just actually kind of fun. Blaine loves
it. I don't think they're coming to get us. No. If they just need to make sure they fly high enough not to hit the tower. That's my main concern.
RG Homestead's going to make a video on how to into dinner, because it must be paper meals. I like that one.
So one of the things we had on the list was talk about this stimulus bill that the government just passed here in the U.S. I think it was a little over $2 trillion. I haven't been paying super
like 2.2, wasn't it?
Something like that. I haven't been paying super close attention to the news, but I kind of got to wonder what the lasting effect of that's going to be. Just handing out free money like that from the government, more essentially printing money out of nowhere. That kind of worries me a little bit. How's it going to affect us down the road? And they're already talking about the next one, but I understand that's a pretty fine line that you got to deal with, trying to keep the economy going, because if we let it completely crash and burn, it would be far worse than any deaths that the coronavirus.
Are you guys excited for your check, or? Yeah, I don't know. Some people are totally stoked and some are like, eh. Archie Homestead says it sounds like a jump height. Those planes.
Yeah, that's about what it was. They were low. I'd never seen one that low before coming through here. And at first I wasn't, when I first went outside, I'm like, what are those? And then as soon as I got close enough, I'm like, oh, those are C-17s flying by.
And that close, they look so big.
Yeah, they were huge flying by.
And the noise.
The noise was pretty.
You could hear them coming as soon as they cleared the mountains over there.
You guys, if you live by a military base, you're probably talking.
You're used to it, but
what are these guys yammering about?
Cool.
We just don't see that very often around here. Like the Apaches, they'll fly past us maybe 3 times a year.
And the Chinooks.
And the Chinooks will fly.
Those are my favorite.
They've got the Air Guard has a base not far from us, so they'll fly by fairly often. But this stimulus thing, we're kind of curious if people are excited about getting whatever it is, $1,400.
Wait, Homestead, they did the stimulus checks? What'd they do? You only meant to go out for
we got to read as we're doing this.
One person from family only, medical reasons, or to your place of work. Like if we go for a drive or something, because the kids are too young to stay home alone, everybody will stay in the rig, and it's usually me that goes in to get the groceries because, to be honest, he doesn't know what I want all the time.
The only real store we've let him go in is the farm store with us. Yeah. Mainly because they love to go see the chickens and ducks and whatnot.
You told me yesterday there's a shortage on chickens now.
Yeah, I seen that on the news that there's a nationwide shortage on chicks this year.
Which I'm totally using on the kids to not get any more baby chicks this year.
Yeah, we don't need any more chickens.
Like 18 chickens, my goodness.
We had more chickens, but
I did limited to 200 characters when they type on there. I didn't know that.
Huh? Yeah, that's news to us that you can only type 200 characters on there.
Oh, so Tim's from the UK, and they're only allowed to go out for essential food or medical reasons, and only one person from the family.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a bit more restrictive.
Or your place of work. I've realized that a lot more people can work from home than have before.
Yeah,
that's something that
I think
was different for me.
In today's society, where so much is, we're not producing as much as we used to as a country, and I think production has went to just a few countries anymore for the most part. I mean, we still produce some things, but not like we used to. So many jobs are service jobs or paper pushing jobs. That's currently my job.
It's okay.
So I don't get to go out and climb towers and stuff like I used to, but that's okay because in this instance, I've been able to work from home with really no change for me at all. And I think the other thing that's really coming back in style is gardens and orchards, and everybody. I know the fruit trees have been at a lot of the stores have just been disappearing like crazy. Everybody's panicked about having food later on.
Well, it's like the chickens; they want to be able to produce for themselves now.
Yeah,
kind of the victory gardens like they used to have, type of thing.
And for like those of us that practice the homesteading thing. That's kind of what we've been trying to do anyway, is be more self-sufficient, and we don't have to rely on as much. We still have to, as much as we try and be self-sufficient, we still rely on a lot of outside material to come in to make us function day to day. Right. But we, as much as possible, we try and be a little more self-sufficient. We've got enough apple trees to choke half of the county.
And peach trees do pretty good.
Yeah, the peach trees do pretty good. So, and I think it's kind of brought to light for not necessarily us as much because I noticed we're cooking at home more.
Mm-hmm.
Before, it wasn't any big deal to run to town every couple of days because most days I work in town. So it was easy to pick up food.
The kids and I would run to town after school, pick up daddy for dinner, go see some relatives, come home. And it wasn't life altering. It was fine.
I know we're not spending nearly as much on eating out, which is probably good.
Okay. I feel bad for Tim. He's not even allowed to drive to a nice spot in the country. Like,
Wow.
just can't go for a Sunday drive type thing.
Well, that kind of brings me to
sorry, Tim.
Another point. Here in the U.S., they're trying to shut down a lot of the national forest land. The local forest where we live, they've only shut down
established campgrounds.
Yeah, established campgrounds, trailheads, and something else. Recreation sites.
Yeah, anything with the parking, like the winter parking permit.
Yeah, and snow parks. I don't know why in the world would you shut down the snow parks.
Yeah.
But, some forests have chosen to completely shut down to the public. I don't know how you would ever enforce that. There's like I was thinking of our local forest. There's so many entrances to it. There's entrances from private land, public, all over the place. There's hundreds of roads that go into it. There's no way they could ever enforce that.
The best you could say is you can't do it and hope they comply.
Yeah.
Which
I completely 100% disagree with those decisions where they've decided to shut down whole national forest or public lands of any kind. That's a pretty slippery slope, and I hope that gets shut down fairly quickly. People are not going to put up with that for a real long time before they've just had enough of that kind of nonsense on normal times, let alone, right now when people are itching to get out of the house. The local forest, a lot of them are millions of acres. You can go out all day and never see anybody. So why would you shut that down? I'm not sure the logic there.
So we went 2 days last weekend. We took the UTV out, and only one day did we see anybody else. And they were hiking, and we were in our UTV, so we just slowed down because you don't want to dust them out, and went around.
Yeah,
it wasn't. But that was the only people we saw in 2 days.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the
Kansas issued their statewide stay-at-home order.
Yeah, I think I seen you post that, Perry. The stay-home thing, I've got mixed feelings about the whole thing, really, because I understand why we need to do it, but, certain organizations or states are kind of taking it a little too far, just like the whole national forest thing. There's no reason for that. I encourage people to stay away from getting the bug. That's obvious.
For sure.
Shutting down open landscape for the public is just not smart.
I mean, they're worried about self-care or self-health or whatever. The best thing you can do is get outside and go explore. And odds are you're not going to run into a lot of people. So it's still that 6 feet safety space thing, personal space thing. So go out and explore the woods.
Yeah,
this is a good time to pick up a new hobby.
And for us, I mean, we've got roughly 40 acres here to go wander around. And granted, it's grass and sagebrush, but
not as much anymore after you burn it.
Yeah, we don't have as much sagebrush as we used to. But we can still go out and, just mess around the property.
Well, trimming the trees yesterday. We were outside most of the day.
Yeah, most of the day we were outside doing something. And for us, the National Forest is only about 2 miles from our house, so we can just hop on whatever and just be up in the National Forest land. And I think most people, at least in this part of the country, think of that as their backyard. And when you hear of people or states or whoever trying to shut down those public lands, it's like shutting down your backyard to a lot of people because that's their playground.
Is Virtue Flat still open?
Yeah, we've got a UTV riding area or ATV motorcycle not far from us on BLM ground. It's still all open.
Okay.
I don't think they have public restrooms. If they do, those are shut down. I read that.
Okay, so Tim from the UK says, worth remembering that we are a relatively small landmass with a huge population. First weekend of the lockdown, a huge number of people drove out of the cities and large towns to get to the country.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be problematic.
Yeah, and here in the U.S., we don't always think of things like that.
Yeah. The size.
The size, because we've got so much land here. And so, yeah, we don't usually a lot of times think of things like that.
I still feel bad for Tim.
Yeah, that's, and the same thing happened here in Oregon. They issued tried to get people to stay home, an advisory right before spring break, and which was, I guess this is the end of spring break this week.
Today.
But the first part of spring break, the Oregon coast, it's a beautiful area.
Yeah.
But it was completely jam-packed with people.
Like record numbers.
Yeah, just people, a lot from California because they were already locked down.
And Washington, they said.
Yeah, and so the little towns were like, we don't want you here right now. And so they
put up like road closed to the beach access, and they weren't serving people at restaurants and stores and that type of stuff for out-of-staters. They're like, we don't want you here, which coming from Washington and California that had for our side of the country most of the cases.
Yeah, Oregon really doesn't have all that many cases. I think I could be wrong, but I think we're under 500 cases. I don't remember how many people are in Oregon. A couple, 3 million? I don't know. But still, we don't have a whole lot of cases.
So the poor UK just moved from rubbing shoulders in the city to going to the country and doing it.
Yeah.
Well, then I see why they had to step it up.
And, I seldom agree with the governor of Oregon, but for some of what she's done, I don't disagree with completely. I'm not sure it is all warranted for the number of cases we have. If they wanted to lock down the city areas, the urban areas a little bit more, that, I understand that. Out here, I'm not really sure we needed it. But it is what it is, because I think if they didn't, the same thing that happened to Tim in the UK, everybody would be out here wandering around. So,
and you can't say, oh, just this half of the state.
Yeah. So I'm looking at our list because we just didn't want to go into this completely blind.
Ramble.
Kids,
So you guys know we have the 2 olders and the 2 youngers.
And we've got, what is she now, 22?
Yes.
Is that right?
She's 22. And then a 20-year-old, and then the twins that are 6. And so as a teacher, I've had a lot of people saying, oh, we've got to keep them on schedule. And they make these really beautiful color-coded posters of a schedule for the day. And after I'm done laughing, I'm like, let's be realistic. You are not expected to be their teacher. You're not expected to run a full curriculum. That's not even realistic. Your kids are going to fight it. You're going to hate it. You're going to end up hating each other by the end of this. So let's be realistic on what we're expecting our kids to learn during this time. For me, even as a teacher, my kids are reading 20 minutes a day. They're doing a quick little lesson on math and reading that's on the computer, the same thing they would do at school. And then we're cooking. We're doing baking. They're now at the point where they can read the recipe. I still confirm that they have the right measuring cup. They are only 6. I don't trust them. But they're doing all of that. They made brownies by themselves the other day. Yesterday, we did no-bake cookies. I helped them with the stove, of course, because it's hot. They were out helping us trim trees. Blaine's going to help build a fort.
Yeah.
Things like that when they're in school all day, you don't have the time to teach them. Because I'm going to be honest, as a teacher, I don't teach them how to build a fort. I just don't. So do that stuff.
I think it's a good time to, depending on the age of your kids, whatever age, there's something you can teach them that they're not going to be learning in public school or whatever school they're in. Stuff that they really should know. And everybody's so busy nowadays that a lot of kids get through the school system and out into life without learning some of those basic skills that I learned as a kid and most of us did. And so I think now is a perfect time to be teaching those kids those kind of things.
We usually do pretty good with playing like Skippo and Uno and card games and like stuff like that. We're doing even more of that stuff because it's teaching them numbers first off, which is a lot of fun, the counting, that type of thing, the taking turns, getting along, but just that family bonding time that in our current society, with both parents working, sports, games, activities, clubs, all of that kids have to do, a lot of that stuff has just been put to the back burner for now. So enjoy this time to do some of that stuff and create those memories.
Yeah,
We're writing letters to grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool.
You know, how many kids have wrote letters to anybody?
Mm-hmm. And then they get mail, which is always exciting for a kid. It really doesn't matter the age.
Yeah.
I mean, our oldest, unless it's a bill, she still gets excited when she gets cool mail. Things like that. So they're writing about what they're experiencing day to day. And I'm going to keep these letters. So when they're older, they can say, oh, I lived through this. This is what it was like. They can tell their kids, you know, that whole story, uphill both ways, walking to school in the snow. Yeah. And I heard a thing that this is going to be our kids' version of that. So let's have those memories there for them. Write letters to classmates. I wrote letters to all my students last week. I've been told that there's going to be some letters coming back from some of the parents, which is a great way for the kids to practice their writing, but in a fun way that builds some memories.
And it teaches kids some patience instead of instant gratification from
instant messaging.
Yeah, instant, whatever. Snapchat, that's the word I was looking for.
TikTok.
They have to wait a little bit to get a reply. I think that's kind of cool.
But to have that letter that has grandma and grandpa's writing, they'll always remember that.
And the one thing that's kind of amazed me about our little 6-year-old boy, he's taken to this little pyramid puzzle. You used to see him in IHOPs and places like that. We picked this thing up at a yard sale last year. It was, the little pegs are actually brass. It's pretty high quality. It's probably made in the 50s or 60s.
The address for the company that made this doesn't even have a zip code.
Yeah, there's no zip code for the company on it. And he is just fascinated by this game, trying to get the goal is to get down to one peg remaining on the board. And he'll sit there for hours trying to figure out how to get that thing down to one peg. The best he's got it down to so far is 2, but eventually
he's pretty impressed with that.
He's tied with me. I've only been able to get it down to 2 also. But stuff like that, kids like, wow, this is fascinating. And that's kind of cool in this modern world to see that, you know, the kids still like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It's stuff like that these kids need to be doing right now, not cramming stuff down them.
We're reading comments, sorry.
Keeping her focused. Yes, Tim, focus. That's a tough one. So if she cooks, that type of stuff, teach her any sewing. I think changing the oil of a rig. Things like that is what they need to be doing. It's hard. It's hard to keep them focused.
My oldest son, I went through a divorce. He's from my first marriage. And so he spent a lot of time with his mom. So he didn't pick up a lot of this stuff early on how to do this stuff. And now he's learning how. And to me, that was a terrible oversight on my part, not teaching some of that to him, thinking that he was getting that from other sources, and he really wasn't. It's just basic mechanical skills, whether you want to use them or not down the road. They're good to have. Like, my dad was a contractor for all of his life. He's a construction worker, contractor. And I wish I would have paid more attention to some of the building techniques and construction techniques. As a kid, I just wanted to, my job was usually to clean up the work site, and try and help. But I wish I would have paid more attention because I just wanted to get done and go home. I didn't want to do that kind of work. But now that I'm older and I want to go build something, I'm okay at it. I'm not great at it. Like a couple of my brothers, they were also contractors. I'll get them to come help me do something. And they just, stuff that boggles my mind how I'm going to make it work. They can come out and just, oh, this is the way you do it. You do this cripple stud here, blah, 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 blah. And we're done in like 20 minutes. And I've been racking my brain for 3 days trying to figure out how I would have done it. And so that I wish I would have paid more attention when I was working with my dad when I was younger. Some of the stuff, even in his 80s, he's still sharp as a tack when it comes to construction stuff. I can still go ask him questions, and he'll just rattle off what to do right now. So,
but honestly, I think just exposing him to it, even.
Yeah.
And Blaine and Bailey both to me, it doesn't matter which gender of a child. Send them. They're both out there helping him build
Yeah.
And you're building a shoe rack right now.
Yeah.
They're both out there helping, learning, just being exposed to it, and then that interest will develop. It's got to start with that.
And if, like I said, if they want to use it later as a skill in a career, that's fine. If not, they've at least got some basic skills.
At least they know the difference between a flathead and a Phillips screwdriver.
Yeah, we won't go into that story. That's not my son. That was
No.
Somebody else's son. He joined the Air Force as a F-15, I think, maybe F-35 crew chief. And he got through the program and was actually on base working. And he got his first vehicle. And he calls his dad and trying to figure out how to get the license plate on the car. And his dad's trying to explain to him how to take the screws out and put the plate on, put the screws back on. And this kid can't figure out exactly what's going on. And his dad's trying to say, well, is it a flat blade or Phillips? And just dead silence on the other end of the phone. I'm like, and this guy's working on our fighter airplanes, aircraft. I'm like, wow.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, the twins have known that for a couple of years, honestly.
So that was hilarious. My buddy, he was telling me this story, and I about fell over laughing. I just couldn't believe it. So evidently, whatever program he went through, they didn't teach him the difference between a Phillips and a flathead screwdriver.
So I want to say hi to Lisa real quick. She's having technical difficulties. She's another side-by-side rider. And so, hi, Lisa.
Hi. Did she finally get on and get to watch it?
No, she says she's having technical difficulties and she's a little upset with YouTube right now because it's not working for her. So,
well, hi, Lisa. You'll be able to watch this on replay. Yeah. One of these days, we're going to have to catch up with. She rides with the group. They come over here for UTV rides. Side by side. We see him in
passing all the time.
Yeah, we've seen him in passing a couple times. We'll have to try and get some time and go riding with them.
Dirk's in Roseburg. Oh, Tim, he doesn't get to go to South America. They're not letting.
Wow.
They must not be letting anyone in. Oh.
And here in
Your
Oregon,
poor wife.
The schools have taken.
You're fine, Tim. Keep typing. I like it.
Have taken a little bit different approach. 9 through 12th grade, they need grades. They need to be able to keep learning and move on. But K through 8 have taken a little bit different approach. They're more or less covering the same ground they've already taught because they don't want to.
We can't just hand new material to parents and say, "Here, good luck." That's not fair. It'd be like him handing me a radio and say, "Here, fix it. Good luck." So we're just doing supplemental material of stuff that we've already taught to keep their brains engaged.
More or less so they don't lose ground and keep them to where when school does start. And we've been hearing rumors all over the place whether school's going to start this year or next year or wait till next fall.
We're through April 28th right now.
Yeah, so they'd leave them a month of school if they do restart. I personally don't think they're going to restart this year.
I keep waiting for word one or the other because it's kind of in limbo right now, which is hard. And it's hard not being able to say goodbye to the kids because we have our big spring play, which is always a lot of fun. And then our end of the year type stuff that we do, our field trips, just all of our activities. So that's it hurts the heart to not be able to do that with them.
Teachers are strange.
Well, even though, because I teach multi-grade, I'll still have all my same kids next year. It's still hard.
Yeah, the school she teaches at is probably one of the last remaining. There might be 2 or 3 left in Oregon.
I think there's 2 in Oregon.
Multi-room schoolhouses. So she teaches
preschool through second.
The other teacher there teaches third through 6th. So it's a little 2-room schoolhouse, and there's not many of those left. But the education those kids get out of that program is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'd stack them up against any school anywhere for what they learn because the younger kids are always learning something from the older kids. Not always the best things, but they're learning anyway.
There's something.
They're learning something. So I was going to say, we're going to go ahead and give this away. We already did the random choosing thing. I'm going to have to go. Hopefully this doesn't kill YouTube. If it does, we'll be right back. Let's see if I can pull this over to this screen.
What's happening?
It stayed up.
Okay, good.
So the random picker picked Jan Blake to win this, and we'll give you some fire starter with it. And so I'll leave you a comment, see if we can get a hold of you and figure out how to get this to you.
Message Ham Homestead on Facebook if you can.
Or our email, hamhomestead@outlook.com.
Either one, and get us your contact info.
I wanted to do this before I forgot because I'm really good at forgetting things. So one thing I wanted to talk about was some upcoming videos we're going to do.
Hold on. So Dirk, I totally get what he's saying. His 4-year-old doesn't understand why she can't go to school.
Yeah,
that's what I've been getting from a lot of parents.
And because I think, especially for the younger kids, school's a social thing. They love it. They love the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that'd be really tough on a kid. I mean, as a kid, I would have loved it. I had no desire to be at school up until about my maybe, I don't know.
High school?
Yeah, in high school sometime. I actually started to enjoy school a little bit. I got my ham radio license and decided there was a reason to actually learn some of this nonsense, especially math. I was pretty good at math, but I just didn't like doing it because I just saw no point in it. So until I got my ham radio license and saw, hey, there's a reason to actually learn something here, I just really didn't care for school all that much. So
I'm going to do a read aloud on Zoom this week. So, and let all my parents conference in. So read it aloud to my students just over the computer, which is, I read aloud all the time at school. So that kind of make contact with them and check on the kids that way. So things like that are handy.
But I went to school with people who just love school. And I think some of them, yeah, she liked school. I don't know whether it was, I think for her, a lot of it was a social aspect. Yeah, imagine that.
What are you implying?
Like this remote church thing, watching church online, I'm perfectly okay with. I don't need to go talk to people most of the time. She likes social interaction. But I was going to mention some upcoming video ideas I have. And if you guys have any video ideas, leave them in the comments. I always like to see something kind of out of the box. But
I like Dirk.
Some of this whole...
Ooh. Perry wants more solar content.
I can do tons of more solar.
We get questions because you guys have seen it. It's pretty obvious when you drive by our house that we have solar. We get a lot of questions on it, actually.
Yeah, and something real quick about the solar, the grid tie system we've got. On a normal day like this time of year, we're producing about 40 kilowatts of power a day. We could get it a little better if we made some changes, but I like simple, so it's probably going to stay that way. And I was going to mention from December through probably the end of February, we only managed to produce about 5 to 8 kilowatt hours per day, whereas normal this time of year, once the cloud cover's gone, we're producing about 40 kilowatts a day. So, I've heard all these guys say, oh, well, you just don't know how to do a off-grid system because I'm surviving just fine. And most of those guys live in Arizona or somewhere where they don't get a lot of cloud cover. Like here in the Pacific Northwest, from December through February, we don't see the sun much. The west side of the state doesn't see it at all. Over here on the east side, we see it some, but not a lot. So during those days, we don't produce much power. So if we were off-grid, we would be running a generator or something to keep the batteries charged up. And when we lived off grid, that was the biggest fight, was keeping the batteries charged and not running them down all the time. And, I working in that industry as long as I have, no matter what you do in this area of the country, in the winter, you're going to have problems if you don't have some alternate source of power. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that no matter what these guys say that you can survive strictly on solar, well, you can if you really cut back your consumption. Yet there's no doubt you could. But if you want to keep your current lifestyle, you're going to have some other form of power.
I think the big thing is being realistic about it.
Yeah, it's
Because like some of the people that have asked us about it, he's like, "Oh, I rewired an outlet once. I can do it. I can totally put in a system.
yeah.
Good luck."
Especially with these grid tie systems, the voltage is fairly high on the DC side. Like we're running 600 volts DC into that inverter, and AC's bad enough at that voltage, but DC you cannot let go of it. Once it gets a hold of you, it never crosses zero like AC voltage does. So once it's got you, and pretty much until something burns off or you fall over or something. So the grid tie
That's not
systems,
positive thinking.
yeah, there's that high voltage DC, and some of the systems are running quite a bit more voltage than that. So just grid tie systems, be careful with them. Off grid, if you keep the voltage down under 60 volts, it's not as bad. It'll tingle you a little bit, but it's not going to kill you, hopefully.
I don't want to try either.
Anyway, some of the upcoming videos, again, leave some ideas if you've got other. Thanks, Perry, for that one. Through this whole crisis, it got me thinking, and I'd kind of planned ahead in my head years ago on what we would do if we lost power out here for some reason. We've got this house, when we bought it, had two sources of water, a spring and a well. And we've pretty much abandoned the spring. It still provides water to the horses and whatnot, but it's still here. It's right beside the house where they've got it piped to. So we can stick a pump down in that thing. Unfortunately, I took the 1,200-gallon cistern out like a dummy way back when I first bought the place, thinking we wouldn't need it. And now I'm wishing I would have left it.
It's because I wasn't here to supervise you.
Yeah, that's true. And so I've bought a little 12-volt pump that I can stick down in there and put water pressure back into the house fairly easy. And that's something I'm going to play with. I think I'm going to make a little video about it on how I'm going to go about it. Just something as a backup. I mean, even if we lost the well pump, it would be nice to be able to flush the toilets, at least short term. So I think I'm going to make a little video about how to go about a project like that. The other thing, we've got a wood stove. And right now it would be fine. Again, this is thinking ahead. Like if you ever lost power, how would you cook? We've got a propane stove, but for that thing does take power to get it started to begin with. So how would we cook if we didn't have propane or electricity? We've got the wood stove in there, but cooking in the summer, I think I'm out. I don't know how you do it without roasting yourself out. So I'm going to make a little rockets. I built a rocket stove a couple of years ago. I think I'm going to modify that thing just for cooking. So you could set that outside and cook on it really easy. That's one of my ideas.
I like Tim. He's a very positive thinker. He's found the upside of being shut down here. And then Dirk, more live feeds.
Yeah. If you guys like the live feeds, I mean, we don't mind doing them.
It's nice to be able, even though we're interacting with the screen and you guys are typing, I like the interaction.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of fun. If you've never done one of these, they're kind of nerve-wracking at first.
Yes.
Your body temperature goes up. You kind of start sweating. You're like, wow, this.
I made him open the window.
It's just kind of weird to do. The other thing I'd like to do, on that one video we did, the fire starter, the two different kinds of fire starter. I found some other ones I'd like to try and experiment with. One was I'd like to show the wet fire and do a comparison between all the different fire starters and which one works the best. Because I'm usually comparing them like that video I did last time with the little cotton hard pack things that you buy commercially compared to the cotton balls. I'd never done those side by side like that before. That was pretty eye-opening to see how much easier the cotton balls are to start, but at the same time, I don't think those will hold up to water very well. So I'm going to do some playing around with that. And then the other thing is upgrading the UTV.
Somebody has bought new toys for the UTV.
Yeah, I bought a lift kit, and I think I'm ordering some tires for it to get the thing a little higher. We went out on that ride last weekend, and we hit bottom multiple times.
Okay. He was crossing a creek that had this like that. and then up like that. And no, I don't feel bad for him other than he got me wet doing
The
this.
worst part was the water was deep enough. We couldn't see where the rocks were. And so I went charging ahead and just.
And my dad, who was driving the Polaris, was really hoping we were going to get stuck so he could rub it in. Yeah, we didn't.
I was beginning to wonder whether we were going to flood that thing out in the water. But
he was excited.
Yeah, we smacked some rocks pretty hard that day. So
but it kind of makes you cringe every time. Even though it's not or anything with the skid plate?
Yeah, it really doesn't hurt much underneath there, but it sure makes you feel bad. And it would sure make me feel better with bigger tires. And I'm not usually a guy to modify stuff like that. Because usually it just winds up causing more problems somewhere else. But with this particular UTV, I think we're going to put the lift kit on and a little bit bigger tires just to give it a little more ground clearance. That thing's got a long wheelbase on it. And so it's really easy to get into positions and hit rocks and things with that thing. And the other thing I'm going to do is upgrade my the 450, the Honda, the motorcycle I bought. That thing, it needs some upgrades. It definitely needs a seat, that's for sure, and it needs something done with the throttle. I rode it the other day, and that throttle for a $10,000 bike, man, it's not a good throttle. So that's one of the upgrades we'll be doing.
Were you having a hard time keeping up with Blaine?
Yeah.
On his 50?
Yeah, that 50, that's hard to keep up with.
He's getting pretty good at his little motocross track. So we've got some good ideas here. Tim, yes, you need to catch up. You can't go to the country, so you might as well watch some videos. Oh, I like the survival hacks.
Yep. I've been through
camping tips. Yeah, I like that.
My previous job, I worked for a state police agency, and so when their communications went down, they didn't care what the weather was, sleet, snow, blizzard, you were going out to a radio site to fix it. When they went down, you had to go. So part of that was we had to go through winter or survival classes quite often, and I've went through 3 or 4 different companies now, and the outfit I'm working with now, we just went through another one. And so I've had quite a bit of those survival classes.
And where we live and what we do.
Yeah. And
it's important to teach the kids.
So I'm more than happy to share some of that. One of the best things I learned in a lot of those classes, one of those classes was how to build snow shelters, like a snow cave, in any kind of snow. It could be completely powder snow, which normally the classes I went to before, you needed harder snow to build a snow cave. Well, this guy taught it a way to do it with any kind of snow. And so one of these days we'll go through and do one of those.
I think Tim might be a bad influence.
I like your way of thinking.
Tim, come on, work with me, man.
So we're going to do some more ham videos. I'm going to do a video on digital versus analog on the 2-meter 440, VHF, UHF stuff, and the different kinds of digital. We'll do P25, what's Yaesu's C4FM or whatever they're calling
grounding is always a requested video.
Yeah, we'll do some more grounding videos. I think I've got a couple DMR radios around we can do. The only mode I don't think I have is the ICOM D-Star.
Are you trying to angle for another radio?
No.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of digital, but I do want to do a comparison coverage-wise, what they sound like when you start getting out in those fringe areas. So I'm going to have to recruit her help pretty heavily on that video. So she's going to be here while I'm out driving around different spots.
Oh, okay, I can do that.
So, yeah. By the way, I bought a couple Alinco, I don't remember the model number. They're DMR radios, little handhelds. So far, I've really liked those little radios. They're kind of more kind of commercial-ish, maybe, the way they program and stuff. But we'll bring those up in a video here real shortly. Well, we've been on here about almost an hour, so we'll cut it off. Hope all you guys are doing good.
Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Yeah, this was fun.
We'll do some more live streams. Yeah. We'll try and figure out another day this week we can do another one. My work schedule, working from home, it seems like I actually wind up working more because I just can't walk away. So when the phone rings, I
noticed.
Run back and answer questions. And so it doesn't seem like I'm getting any more time off being at home. So,
And I have to work a couple days this week getting
So-
stuff ready for those kids.
so thanks for watching, guys. And we'll do another live stream and we'll come up with some more mining videos here shortly.
If you have any other video ideas or requests, make sure and leave a comment.
Yep. And we'll
That
try
helps.
we'll try and get them done.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm a little late getting them done, but we'll get them done.
Hey, Perry, be safe out there.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Yes, I want to end it.